Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this talk tonight, because I know this is the last talk. It's going to keep you away from going out into the sun and later in the night. So I'm really grateful you came here to share your time with us. So today I want to speak about learning, and this is a topic that's very dear to us. So I've learned quite a lot in this conference. Today and yesterday, there are so many things that I learned, but I learned just as much from the speakers as I have learned from the conversations with you on the side, reflecting, thinking about what's interesting ideas and experiences we've had, sharing in those, figuring out, oh, wow, we actually had similar experiences. This is amazing. That's so nice and touching, and I'm burning now with enthusiasm to bring those ideas back into my organization, to do something useful, to make some change, to bring something that's really positive. And if you're a little like us and maybe work for a big organization, you start thinking, okay, how do I do that? Like all of this buy-in I need to get, I need to explain to people, why is that gonna be useful to us? What's the trade-offs? What's the learnings that we have to do? What is the cost? What kind of time do we need to invest? What about our schedules and deadlines? How do we meet the deadlines? If we want to do a modernization here and there, but we still have to produce all these features, come on. And then I'm like, okay, but please, can't we just do some event storming? That's like simple. We should be able to be bringing those things in and diving into this stuff, right? But I mean, what if we were able to do that? What if we had ways so that ideas and interesting new things that we learn can be brought into an organization without this having to fight a system, having to always fight your way in? What if we had something supportive? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be marvelous? And we're here because we believe it would be great, and we believe that great work is simply a byproduct of a great learning culture. Culture where you can bring in ideas, and you can think about how could we apply this in our context? Is it possible? Is it going to work for us? And then maybe it's not, but then we know, right? And a learning culture is something that is very useful. We really want to do it, but we figure out, okay, it's not that simple. It's not something you can just force. You need to create space for it and then pull away, let it happen. Nurture it, though, because you cannot just go away completely. You need to still nurture it, but you cannot force it. You cannot pull out a spreadsheet with change management techniques and make sure it happens, right? This is not something that we can do like that. And it turns out it's something great that we want to have, but we don't really know how to do that yet. Or maybe we do, but we don't always know why. So it's not so easy, yes, and I want to talk about one thing why it might not be that easy. And we've heard a lot about the hierarchies. And I want to point out a book here, which is a different one that wasn't the same one as Simon has mentioned, but I believe this is also a very insightful book, so another one for your list, on Scale, and by Geoffrey West, who talks about hierarchies. And let me talk to you a little bit about that. So as a company grows, in the beginning, it has a small hierarchy, probably. And a hierarchy is a good thing because it brings in structure, it brings in positive things. We can make decisions faster than we did before, and it's great. But over time, if we're successful, the company grows, and so does the hierarchy. Growing hierarchy means, especially if your decision-making is organized around that hierarchy, it means that over time, it's going to take longer for you to make decisions. And this might be okay for a while, but what if the environment you are in is moving faster than you're able to make decisions? Then we might be having a problem. And one way we figured out how to deal with that is, we want to have autonomous teams that can make decisions so we can be faster with these things. And that would be great, right? Yes, amazing. Let's create those autonomous teams and tell them to make decisions. I mean, the first thing, of course, we realized is people would just come back and ask, how do I do this? Can you please tell me? Can you explain to me why I cannot make this decision? I need to wait for the architect. And that's why this doesn't work just like that. So we decided to build this learning culture so that people can learn better. So in the beginning of this, what we have seen happen often is there is this simplistic company learning flow that gets created. Still, the company thinks in this ways that we get tech and leadership and architects to create a strategy and then figure out what are the learning needs that we have to meet so that we can do this modernization that we are aiming at. And this means that we have to figure out what kind of trainings people need, what kind of upskills that we need to make, and then schedule them, and then find time for people to still meet their feature deadlines, etc. And after about a year, this great new strategy that we had maybe is now outdated, and of course, we are just beginning to put people in training. So this is very simplified, but it could happen, right? And we have to find ways to create these learning opportunities sooner, to shift them a little bit to the left. And instead of doing this, but yeah, let's not completely throw this away yet, though, because maybe there are some useful things in looking at this process here. Maybe there is some usefulness. Some good things that can be said about this is that there is alignment. There is some alignment happening. We are aligned with the strategy, and learning can be consistent. We put people in the same training, so it's kind of more consistent. And we also utilize professional trainers. This is great. This is amazing. And so maybe we shouldn't throw this away completely. However, on the other side, there are some problems. It's very slow. Leadership is supposed to be really knowing about what everyone's learning needs are, which could be difficult to figure out. It's not the completely straightforward thing. And thirdly, and I believe for me most important, is that employees are seen as mere consumers of learning and strategy. And I believe this is difficult because we were just talking about autonomy. And autonomy is great because it means we can make decisions faster, but autonomy is also great because of motivation. And I don't know if you know this book, Drive by Daniel Pink, but he talks about this autonomy, mastery, and purpose as drivers for motivation. So we want people to be autonomous because then they're more motivated. They bring a lot of internal enthusiasm into things. And autonomy, mastery, and purpose are something that helps us. So we want that autonomy. So if we treat employees as mere consumers of learning, we are just failing to take advantage of this autonomy thing that gives us motivation. So we end up with trainings or learning being this experience that we don't really love. Learning sessions are just coming too late. We are not motivated to do them. It's hard to schedule them. They're not very relevant maybe to the real details and context that people have. And as a result of this and many other factors, they end up being very expensive and scarce. So when there is a scarcity but still a lot of demand because we have to be learning things to make decisions, what comes is we create these amazing bottom-up initiatives like communities of practice, book clubs, learning sessions, lunch and learn, internal conferences. We do all these things bottom-up so we can learn from each other. This is great. But what we hear a lot from learning and development professionals that we speak with, it's also very hard to figure out what kind of initiatives are running everywhere. There is little visibility because a lot of this is run ad hoc. There is no central person who is dealing with that. And as a result, it's hard to see what's happening in the organization. And also, these initiatives often die out because there is no one supporting them. So can we somehow see here, okay, we have on one side the top-down and on the other side the bottom-up, and can we somehow marry those two to get something, to get the best of both worlds? And I believe we can. I believe there is something we can do, and the inspiration that for this came out of these ideas. Reimagining learning and development as an enabling team. And I'm not going to go into the details, but Matthew Skelton and Manuel Paes came up with these 4 fundamental team topologies. And one of them is the enabling team, which is a team that helps streamline teams to overcome obstacles and also detects missing capabilities. So what does this mean in the context of learning and training? So we believe it means that we can use this to move from a model that applies training onto developers and move to a model that has enablers who enable the organization, the employees, to learn from each other and with each other. We believe that this is the key. And the question could arise, like, who are these enablers? Who are these people? Do we have to hire the Learn Ops engineers? do we maybe have them already? Maybe we do. And I want to ask you, who of you is an agilist here? Who is an agilist? All right. Who is an architect? Who is both? Nice. So I believe in this room we have everyone that we need, and I want to recruit all of you to this team here. I want to recruit you all because you both all have exactly the capabilities that are needed to get this going. Let me tell you why. I believe we all bring unique perspectives from both sides, and oftentimes agilists bring these perspectives. They would have some trainer competencies. We give trainings all the time. So we can also be knowledgeable in curriculum building. We do a lot of coordination. We think about metrics all the time. What are useful metrics? Outcome versus output. What are minimal set of metrics? Facilitation skills, liberating structures, we saw all this. So these are great skills that we need in order to communicate with each other. And architects, on the other hand, bring those amazing technical expertise, the abstract thinking that we need to understand things, and the context, the domain sensitivity that is incredibly important, whatever we do. And the deadlines, the strategy, how does it fit into the strategy? Peer-to-peer relationships with other engineers. So these unique capabilities here create a great recipe for enablement of each other. And we could have other groups, of course. There is many people who could be very passionate about learning. For example, learning and development professionals, community builders, communication professionals, product leaders, designers, anyone could be recruited to this. And we didn't only do this in theory, we actually have been doing this for over 4 years, and Berrin is going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thank you. It's working, right? Okay. All right. Cool ideas, right? And good theory, actually. We have discussed and talked about the theory part of all this idea that we just thought of. And now we are maybe starting talking about the practical part of it, how we implemented this. We realized this need and the potential within our organization, and we wanted to implement this actually as a learning event, and we called it We Innovate. So before we start talking about how we did this, what is our story, maybe let's give you some context of who we are. We are from a company called GfK, and after a company merger, now we are Nielsen IQ. Back then, before the merger happened, we were 8,000 employees worldwide, and 600 of them were in tech area. Now this amount is even higher. In a nutshell, we are a market research company. We collect sales data from our retailers, and we process this data, put some insights, and then we sell this data to our manufacturers so that they can analyze this data and understand how they are doing in the business. And we are doing SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, for our development and business processes, but we are agile. So how it all started? Yeah, it started with all this nice period that we all had, this COVID-19. And when we all sent back to our homes and we stopped communicating and collaborating in person, but online. So during one of those online calls, which we were discussing about the agile transformation, which was also happening during Corona, together with our senior architects and engineers, how we should be implementing this agile transformation into our day-to-day business and day-to-day work, and how could we upskill the developers and engineers so that they could give good decisions about the structure and the technology during the agile transformation. And other than this upskilling time and the things that should be given to the other people, there were also people who were very few that could be doing such sessions. Like we were lacking of people, lacking of senior architects and engineers who could be giving such sessions. And we were also having that problem that these people didn't have so much time to those sessions. And other than these organizational issues, we also had some technical stuff, like how could we engage people during those sessions? How could we prepare for such sessions? And also prepare, questions, like use the whiteboards during those online sessions or create group exercises. There was too many topics and issues that we had to tackle before starting everything. So we decided to act on it. What we did, we created a community of practice, and we called it Grow Together, so that we could discuss everything during those sessions with our senior architects and engineers, and we could find some solutions. During those talks, we also discovered that there were not only that lacking of people and who could be giving the sessions, we also had to repeat those sessions because there were too many people, and when we didn't repeat those sessions, then not everyone was getting the idea, the knowledge. So we had to repeat the sessions, we had to find the good people, the sweet people, and these people should be the volunteering for those sessions so that we won't be forcing people to give knowledge exchange. And also, we had technical stuff, preparing the sessions, doing exercises, and asking feedback from the audience, and so on and so on. Too many questions and questions. Then, we also found another issue, which the learning was happening actually within the teams. Let us illustrate this a bit more. Let's think about, we have 3 teams in 3 subdomains. And they have expertise, they have skills within their teams. They can work together like this independently without communicating with each other. But when it comes to that example, like we have a person in team 1 who could maybe get the knowledge, train himself or herself, and then become a Python expert. And then they can also work together within team 1, and he can also teach that knowledge and specialize to everyone within his team, and then everyone can work together in team 1. But the others, team 2 and team 3, they don't know this, that we got a Python expert in team 1. And we cannot level this because we don't know who is a Python expert within that community. And how can we surface that? Like, guys, we got people, like experts, you can also get the knowledge from them. So this happened. This was a realization. Like, actually, we have knowledge ivory towers within the teams, that the knowledge was not transferable. The people could not be getting the knowledge between. I mean, it was not shareable, and it was not transparent. So how we realized that the knowledge was blocked, of course. I mean, if the knowledge was only happening within one team, then it is blocked, and it is not transferable. So we started thinking about, okay, how can we break them? How can we break these knowledge ivory towers so that the people can learn from each other and the knowledge is shared with everyone within the company, not stayed in one team? So in the work with our COP, with the senior architects and engineers, we started thinking about how can we make it possible for everyone to get this knowledge. Then we decided to implement a learning event so that the people can exchange that knowledge. We also decided to implement some principles for such an event, like we said that the community decides on which topics they would like to learn about in the next event and which knowledge ideas they would like to share with each other. Because as we have a community, we got people who are experts, they can be sharing their knowledge, and we got some junior people who should be getting this knowledge. And also, the whole community, they should be deciding in the next event, the learning event, which topics should be spoken about, which topics should be shared with each other. Then we started thinking about, okay, where does it fit within our organization? Where should we implement such a learning event? As we said, we are doing Scaled Agile Framework. In Scaled Agile Framework, we have the program increments. And in each increment, we got, at our case, 4 business sprints that we deliver value to the customers. And also, we have an IP sprint, Innovation and Planning sprint, in which the people actually learn from each other, experiment, or innovate on the stuff that they maybe thought about until that sprint. So we thought that, yeah, it would fit in that, the IP sprint, and we could implement an event. And how? Then we thought maybe it would be better to plan for such an event so that it is structured, that people can be available, then it can be available to everyone to register for such an event. So what we did is we started within the PI, with the topic proposals, like we asked everyone, the whole community, to propose their topics, like what topics they would like to learn about or they would like to share about. Then we had a voting period. We asked the same community to decide on which topics they would like to learn in the next session during the IP sprint. Then when we gathered the feedback from the audience, the community, we said that, okay, let's schedule them. Then we scheduled everything and we maintained a registration section, like a place that people could be registered for such events. And also the event days happen. In our case, this is the 2 days of event during each IP sprint, like quarterly. And after the event happens, we also have a recap so that we can collect feedback from audience to improve ourselves, to make it better the next time. So this is some kind of an example how the space looks like. This is the topic proposal page, which we ask people to add their topics with some details and add their names as requester or a potential trainer. Then we have this page on Confluence, like we are using Confluence Space as collaboration and documentation at NIQ. And this is the page for the voting. Like you see, that we got these topics and we got this voting space, and people can vote for those sessions. Then we collect the results and then we schedule those sessions. And this is the registration page. Still, we are talking about Confluence. Like this is the safe space. This is the very perfect space that we could be using because this is used by everyone at NIQ. You see, we got the participants part. I mean, this is the place that they just can edit it and then add their names and then save it. That's it. They registered for this event. You can see the facilitators part, and this is the plural. Like, the people should not be only doing the training by themselves. They can also bring some co-trainer with them so that that co-trainer can also learn and continue with the next trainings. And we also got the Scrum Master support. Because before the training happens, we give support to our trainers to prepare for such event. During the event, we also support them for facilitating, and after the event, we also support them for getting that feedback. So, then we come here, enable the enablers from Michael Plöth. This is the second principle, enabling the enablers. In our case, we ask the trainers to bring someone with them to such training sessions so that they can also get this knowledge from the trainers, and then they can become the next trainer this is another way of enabling the enablers. And we also, as the agile coaches, we enable the people to get prepared for such sessions without so much hassle. So we are talking about a team, as Sveti said, that we are an enabling team. We have a clear vision and mission. We are a bunch of agile coaches working together to make this event happen and successful. And we have a backlog of improvement items that we try to improve ourselves after each event happens. And we also try to always emphasize that we regularly enhance it so that the people can get the best out of those sessions. In our case, the enablers are the agile coaches. We communicate, collaborate, and coordinate such a session to make it possible and successful. And our senior architects and engineers, they also enable other people, like they free their time, prepare for those sessions, and free also the others' time to get the trainings and get the idea from the senior architects and engineers. So, as we said, that we are improving ourselves all the time. On the course of time, we just found out that maybe we could be implementing some kind of incentive system within this event so that we can also make it happen for the other people to understand, okay, there's an event ongoing and this is really valuable. That's the reason we said that, okay, let's give some small tokens, like small awards in each year, like annually, to the trainers to appreciate their time, appreciate their training skills, and also give some badges to the trainers so that they could be sharing those badges in social media for the visualization of this event, and also making it possible to be seen by the other people outside the organization. We also have keynote sessions in each event that is given by the management, like 20 minutes of keynote sessions on trainings, on learning, like it is, how valuable it is that you have to share your knowledge and learn from each other. Those are the incentives that we thought of, but if you talk about the incentives, there's also another incentive type that is added in each company. This is the annual performance targets, which we say, rather do not do this, because we always emphasize that this is nothing mandatory. We should not force people to become trainers or attend those training sessions. This should be not mandatory for anyone. But this annual performance targets, this is mandatory, because we have to achieve it in order to get something like bonus or whatever is offered by the company. So we do not suggest this. So you may ask, okay, you talked a lot, you have done so much stuff, but what happened so far? Were we successful? Yes, what we experienced went way before, like beyond our expectations. Like people started speaking up, people started giving trainings, offering trainings, and for that reason, I have a small example. Within my Agile Release Train, I have a software engineer, who is not a senior one, and he came to me and asked me if he could be giving a session in the next event, but he was unsure how to prepare for the session, and he was not that experienced giving trainings or presentations, and we said, that, okay, let's sit down and prepare for that. When we did it, after the session happened, because he was also very successful during the session, he got a very good feedback from the audience. So now he's got this confidence that he's just offering not only one session, but more than 3 sessions each event. I think Sveti also has another example, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Berrin. I do have one, which was very dear to me, an engineer in Malaysia. She was looking to learn about MongoDB. And she asked, okay, is there someone that can help me? Our team does not know MongoDB, and we want to use it in the next project. So we asked, but we didn't find anyone. And she said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. We're just going to be a couple of people. We're going to learn about MongoDB, and we're going to bring it into the event. That's what they did. And on a awards session ceremony, a year or 2 later, she shared that story, and she said this was the most profound learning experience that they've had because they had to learn something and then teach it to others. And this was, for me, it was a very amazing time. I had never expected that somebody would come up with that story and tell it, and I was super, super happy about that. So there was a lot that we witnessed, and there was more feedback. I just put some here. I want to point out one thing here. It was about the ChatGPT session with Copilot as well. I'm pointing it out because it was in May 2023, which was, I believe, about 2 months after Copilot was brought out for testing. And I'm profoundly proud about this because if you realize we are in a company where these engineers that were sharing this, they were working on deadlines within goals. They had to do delivery. And on the side, they were exploring with this new technology, and they decided to do a learning session. Within 2 months, this session was done. And the whole company participated. We had people not just from tech, we had people from HR, from finance, from accounting, and all over the place. And it was especially funny because after like 30 minutes, when the hands-on technical part started, the half of the call just dropped out. It was very funny. But I'm super proud about this. It was amazing. And just a little excerpt of the different topics that we've had. We've had now over 100 sessions, and some of them might look generic, but it's always about how do we apply this in our context? How do we do Git in our environments? How do we work? Basics of architecture sounds generic, but it is about how do we do architecture? What's our experience in doing architecture in our domain, in our company? And you can also see there is different types of topics. There are agile topics, there are product topics, there are technical topics, data science, all of this mixture, and everybody is invited to all the sessions. We make sure that this happens because it's important to see what others are doing, not just in the own COP, but maybe also the others, because we have to work together to get change happening. And we saw over the years conversations like, well, how about this fluid team thing? Maybe we can try it now because we're converging on ways of working, understanding, etc. Maybe this would work for us suddenly. So these kind of ideas help us get some alignment, which is just emerging out of us sharing knowledge and learning with each other. And this was exhilarating to watch. And we had some statistics for you, some numbers from 2023. We have statistics also in 24, but we did less events because we had to do this technical merger with the other company, and we had to see, okay, how do we do this now in the other context, in the bigger one? So we are restarting now with a new name, and 2025, hopefully we can also bring out 4 events. Let's see. And some more numbers from when we started until May 24. You can see here, I want to illustrate, in the beginning, we didn't start with all of this concept that we just showed. We started small. We didn't have the voting in the beginning. We didn't have all the enabling behaviors and things that we did for people. So we started very small with just an event where we share knowledge. We let people that already share knowledge share their knowledge. And then it suddenly started to grow. And by the 3rd event, the interest was overwhelming for people to apply as trainers. So this is the green one is the trainers that came up with the session. And then we were, wow, what's happening here? And then it dropped suddenly. And we were like, okay, what are we doing wrong? Maybe we are making something not okay. So we started thinking, okay, what can we do? What problems are there? How can we recruit people to help us, to free each other's time, etc.? And then we started to figure out that we need to do more enablement, more of these co-trainer things, etc. So we kind of started to stabilize with some fluctuations along the way. So I want to show you here that it's not all going to be perfect when you start it. Start small and then iterate. Just this basic principle, and you might get a very good result, I believe. So, questions we get. What is the right format? Depends on your context. For us, we had SAFe, so IP sprint was kind of natural. But if you don't have that environment, don't focus on the format, I would say. Work with the bottom-up community-driven initiatives that you already have in your organization, because you will have them. I mean, this is a bet, of course, but I believe you will have them. So work with them and think about what enabling behaviors can we create so that these things can get more visible, more recognized, easier for people to attend to, reduce this energy cost for people to join them. So this is, I think, a very basic principle for that. And another one we've gotten so much when we try to explain the value of what we do. How do you ensure the quality of those learning sessions? How do you ensure that people are not just suggesting outrageous things? And we had to explain this with many, many words, with many examples, etc. But I'm going to give the short version, which is we build it in. And we do a lot to ensure the quality, but we don't control for quality. We found that over time, the community creates an awareness of what is useful content. And this happens because of the feedback mechanisms built in, because of those little things that we do to enable, to help, to reduce the cognitive load, to celebrate what's going on. And we found over 100 sessions now, after over 100 sessions now, that it kind of works. Yes, there is sometimes some sessions that are not so fruitful, but we all learn with each other. This is about learning. Also, everyone who is a trainer also learns how to do better communication. So another one, how can we reduce the cognitive load? Giving a training, if you're a technical person, it's very hard. You need to be creating exercises. You need to be thinking about your audience. These are things that we don't do naturally. And for this, we have help from Scrum Masters, other people who are knowledgeable about this, and we label them something like session producers. So upskilling, offering support, listening, what are the problems, what are the issues, very important. And last thing I believe we've gotten oftentimes is how can we get management support for these things, especially in difficult times. And there is one pattern, I believe. There's so many things you can do, but one pattern, because you're not going to always be in a position of power in an organization to bring in a change. But I believe in every organization there is people who can be early adopters, who can help you. Work with them, focus on a pilot, together with some early adopters, supporters, show the value, and then try to expand this circle. And I want to mention here books by Marilyn Manson and Linda Rising, amazing, amazing women, Fearless Change. In these books, you can find over 60 patterns for creating lasting change. They went on a journey to find out, okay, is there this perfect change process that we can apply? Let's try to figure out if there is one. And they figured out there was none. There were a bunch of patterns you can do, and very much recommend that. Go ahead, check out that book. So last, some key takeaways. Elevate learning. This is what is going to enable this fast decision making. Learning is important. It should not be an afterthought. It should be central. Without it, an organization is in danger. Form enabling teams to shift left learning. If you cannot form enabling teams because the organization is constrained, think about those enabling behaviors. Show the value in enablement. And last, but I believe definitely not least, see employees, see yourself as more than just consumers of learning. So that was it. Thank you so much. You can connect with us here. So thank you.
Thank you very much for an absolutely fantastic closing talk. We have way too many questions for one remaining minute, so I just go for the most voted one. How do you measure knowledge adoption? We have seen many people join training sessions but fail to apply what they learned.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly the thing with, okay, we now had a great learning session, and how do we then propagate this? This is where I think Eduardo and Nick's talk was very important. Like, okay, we are now enabling teams, but we might have a little session, and then there is people interested in applying an idea. So how can we enable them to work on that idea further? And measuring the adoption, we ask sometimes for feedback about how much do you use this knowledge within your work. We do get mixed results. People are not always able to use their knowledge in their work, but my tip is ask those questions and then ask the follow-up, what was the problem? Why couldn't you apply this? Can you tell us more? So we can learn out of this in context of our own organization.
All right. So, will you be around after the closing?
Yes, absolutely.
So, they will be around after the closing. So, there's 6 more questions. So, I'm pretty sure that Berrin and Tsvetelina will be very happy to discuss and talk to you. Please don't forget to rate this talk. I will start the rating now. I won't forget it like in the last one. And thank you very much for being there. The closing session will, I think, start now over there. Thanks. And give them a big round of applause.
Thank you.